the Module 2 in Human Behavior and Organization, which is entitled Individual Differences, Mental Ability, and Personality. Okay, so at the end of this module, you are expected to define individual differences, list the consequence of individual differences, and identify what makes people different from each other. Okay? So, before that, syempre, kailangan muna natin i-define ang individual difference as our first topic. By the way, you may turn on the caption since I will be speaking in English, so hopefully ma-recognize ni Google. Since the most of my slides here is actually not wordy. Ibig sabihin, wala masyadong definition. Okay, so first is individual differences. This refers to the variation of reactions people whenever they are confronted with the same situation. These variations could be traced to our personal characteristics. So, as the term itself, individual differences refers to the people's pagkakaiba-iba. Okay? Same situation, pero iba yung reaction. Okay? That is how we are different. For example, sa color pa lang. Girls, kung sinabi natin pink, you may say, na gusto ko yan kasi pink, pero you may say, ay, ang girly naman. So, ibig sabihin, same gender kayo, same stimulus, but you have different reaction. Okay, yun yung individual difference. So, it is important that we recognize that people are different. Okay, as a manager, why do you have to study this? We should recognize that our people, okay, as future managers, when we are faced with different problems, it may require different solutions, lalo na kapag iba-iba rin yung mga tao. So, people are really different, kaya mahirap maging manager kasi you cannot expect, although syempre there is a general reaction or general solution, but then you cannot assume that everybody will react to the same. Okay, for example, for the bonuses, ganyan. For example, sa money, or financial or monetary bonus, you cannot expect others na ay they are happy, although syempre basic yun, di ba? Pag money, you cannot expect that they will be perform better if you give them bonus kasi iba-iba yung needs natin. Iba-iba yung factors that motivate us. Okay, so we must recognize as future managers that people differ in productivity. One person may finish 10 in a day, other person will finish 20 or even less. Okay, kahit 5 ang matapos niya, ganyan. So, people differ in the quality of work. Yes, kahit pa parehas sila ng training, parehas sila ng pinagdaanan na kung ano-ano na yung sa training or sa different, same sila ng age, same sila ng gender, same sila ng height, but the quality will be different. People react differently to empowerment. Some do not want empowerment. Gusto nila parang may nag-uutos lang. Pero some people want that, some people want to make their own decisions. That's empowerment. Okay. People react differently to styles of leadership. So, if you can recall our lessons in leading, one of the functions of management, if the leadership style of a manager is, for example, autocratic or authoritative, some will like it, yung mga gusto nila strict, ganyan. Pero some, ay, ano ba yan? Hindi na uso yung mga ganyan, di ba? So, people differ in terms of need for contact with other people. Okay, some are extroverts, some are introverts, some wants Some want to work on their own, some want to work on a team. So people differ in terms of commitment and organization. Yes, that's right. The level of commitment, I think mati-discuss rin dito later on yon, yung the different types of commitment. Okay. And people differ in terms of level of self-esteem. Okay, some have high self-esteem, they have more confidence, some are have not, diba? Or some have lower self-esteem. Okay. So what makes people different from each other? So people will be different in terms of their demographics, aptitude and ability, and personality. Actually, isa-isahin natin siya. Okay, let us start with the first one, which is demographics. So, if you can remember again our lesson in Management 101, when we say demographics, it is or it refers to the characteristics of the people or the population, right? So, this um, in here, in this slide, sabi dito, we have three factors under demographics that people are different from each other. So, first na dyan is the gender differences. So, gender differences entails male and female in the workplace. It is influenced by both physical and emotional factors such as upbringing and capacity of employee to perform job duties. Siyempre, mula noon, di ba, we have this uh, bias towards men na dapat they have more strength than women, or some things some things that men can do, women cannot. So, yung mga yon na merong mga gender differences, although syempre dapat hindi tayo bias towards gender. So, ang ibig sabihin lang nito is different gender may have different reaction to the same situation. So, the second one is generational and age-based differences. Okay, and we should recognize that this is a challenge to a leader in the workplace, since this is another form of diversity. What does this mean? People belong to the same generation, may have similar ideas, work attitudes, and the like. Okay? If they are in the same generation, so nagkakaroon ngayon ng tinatawag natin na generation gap. Okay? Na millennials are very different from, syempre, yung Gen Z for that instance, and millennials are very different from baby boomers or generation X, ganyan. So, maraming mga, I think na-discuss ko rin yung last time sa Management 101 na merong iba't ibang mga biases. Anong tawag doon? Nasa dulo ng dilo ko yung term. But then, yun yung mga stereotypes. The term is stereotype. Hashtag stereotype. These are the stereotypes na they have different work ethics, they have different values, ganyan. And at the same time, syempre, when we say generation, we can also talk about the age. Age differences of workers may also cause variation of behavior of workers. So most often, age is associated with experience. Okay, so my question is, and you can comment below, and I will be choosing one best answer talaga. Do you think that older people, or syempre, sabi nga nila, it comes with age, are better in terms of workplace kaysa sa mga younger ones? Okay, if you were the manager, will you hire an older person or the younger person? Okay? So yun, comment nyo below if you are the manager. And syempre, you should defend it. So I will be choosing one or two depends sa mga sagot. That is the bonus number 1. So, most often nga, age is associated with experience. So, 60-year-old employee says he has 40 years of work experience compared to 22-year-old with only 2 years experience. However, this will not this may not be the case in this may not always be the case, but in general, we consider age and experience related. So, pwede nyo include yan sa inyong definition or pag-defend rather. So the next one that our people are different with is sa culture. Okay, so individuals may be different in their job performance and behavior because of their differences in culture. So culture means, for example, Philippine culture, ilagay mo siya sa ibang country, maging iba yung reaction niya kasi iba yung kinalakihan niya. Or the foreigners naman na pupunta dito, iba rin yung magiging attitude niya, magiging behavior niya, ganyan, kasi iba yung culture na nakalakihan niya. So, culture refers to acquired knowledge and shared ways of thinking that people use to interpret experience among group of people or society. So with this definition, culture implies two dimensions. Although it's not written there, pero culture class ay merong dalawa. Okay, take note of this. Pwede itong social culture and organizational culture. Okay, so what is the difference between the two? Social culture class refers to the social environment of human-created beliefs, customs, knowledge, and practices that define a conventional behavior in society. So, ibig sabihin, it's human-created. So, social culture may be set by society, may be set in your family, may be set in your environment. Okay? So, ang pagkakaiba nito sa organizational culture as the term itself, it's a collection of values, beliefs, norms, and practices that is shared and guided among employees of an organization. So, employees of PSU may differ in terms of behavior, in terms of personality, ganyan, sa ibang university, sa UP, Ateneo, UST, or even the local colleges sa Dagupan, ganyan. So, Pepsi employees may have different behavior than Coke employees because they have inside the organization kasi may nabubuong culture. Okay, for example, hindi ko alam kung this is a general culture ha, pero for example, if you are a newbie inside an organization, pag first na sahod mo, kailangan mong mag-blow out, ganyan, yung mga ganon. So, I think, sa Filipino kasi medyo uso yung ganon. So, pwedeng nasiset yun sa org culture natin. Okay. Next is aptitude and ability. Second na to. First yung demographics. Anong pagkakaiba ng aptitude at ability? Alam ko narinig niyo itong aptitude. It's not attitude ha. Iba yung attitude. This one is aptitude. So, I think the civil service exam, merong parang tinatawag na aptitude test or aptitude exam. Ganyan. So, what is the difference between the two? Aptitude refers to the innate capability of a person to learn a certain skill. Okay, so ibig sabihin, the higher aptitude you have, okay, or the greater aptitude you have the capacity to absorb, kung parang fast learner ka, ganyan. So, anong pagkakaiba niya sa ability? Ability is the capacity of an individual to carry out or perform a certain task. An individual's ability comprises of two factors, physical and mental. Okay? So, makikita rin natin later on, although syempre you are familiar with this, kasi I think when I was in college, hindi kasama ito sa PE1. Okay, I think pati nung high school yata. Pero syempre, i-review pa rin natin. Let's start with the physical abilities. Ayan. So, as you can see in the picture, meron ba bang ganyan? Although, syempre nakakamiss talaga mag-mall, no? Pupunta ka sa quantum, ganyan, di ba? This is a test of strength, right? So, physical ability is the capability of an individual to perform tasks which demands stamina, strength, dexterity, and similar characteristics. So, meron tayo ditong siyam. Sige. I-discuss lang natin yung definition niya. Naalala nyo to, yung mga sa mga physical exam na, for example, yung shoulder flex, yung abutin mo yung ano mo, yung kamay mo sa likod, ganyan. Ito yung mga yon itong high school. Okay, it is actually a physical exam. Okay, so number one is dynamic strength. This is the ability to exert muscular force repeatedly over a period of time. Okay, the second one is strength, ability to exert muscular strength using the trunk muscles. For static strength, it is also called isometric strength since it is used for isometric exercises. It is referred to as the ability to exert force against external objects. Some activities which are needed this strength are climbing. Syempre sa mountain climbing, di ba? Kasi you are against the gravity. Okay. I think even mountain biking, motocross, and other similar activities, ito yung examples natin ng static strength. The fifth one class is explosive strength. It's the ability to expend maximum force for a minimal time. This includes jumping, wrestling, gymnastics, ganyan. So, the next is extent. Ito naman, flexibility ang tinutukoy niya na. Okay, so extent flexibility is generally a joint specific wherein this is the ability to flex the trunk and back muscles as far as possible. Okay, feeling ko kasama dito yung shoulder flex when we were in high school. Next is dynamic flexibility. This is the repeated ability to make rapid, repetitive flexing movements. Feeling ko ito yung mga nag-backflip, ganyan. Or gymnastics din, pwede rin siguro dyan. So, the next one is body coordination. This is the ability to harmonize actions of different parts of the body simultaneously. So, actually, this includes dancing, di ba? Ito, pag parang hindi ko mapagsabay yung isang kamay ko saka isang paa ko, gano'n. That is body coordination. Okay, next is balance. It's the ability to maintain stability despite of the forces pulling off equilibrium. Comment down below kapag hindi kayo marunong magbike. Just a trivia. Alam niyo ba, noong January 1, 2018 lang akong natutong magbike. As in, kasi takot ako. Feeling ko hindi ako magaling mag-balance, kanyan. So, meron palang technique para makapag-balance ka. So, yun. Kung kayo ay hindi marunong mag-bike, huwag kayong mawalan ng pag-asa. Kaya yan. Just patience lang siguro. Huwag kayong matakot. Yun yung first rule. Okay. And the last one for physical ability is stamina. It's the ability to continue maximum effort requiring prolonged force. Okay. Stamina is, ito yung patagalan. Usually sa mga nakikita ko sa PBBA, yung parang patagalan sila na tumayo doon sa pool, mga ganyan. Okay. So, hindi natin alam what is the definition of a personality. So, a personality is a set of characteristics possessed by a person that makes him or her unique as the way of thinking, behaving, and feeling. Aside from that definition, actually ito yung mas common. Personality class refers to the sum total of ways in which an individual reacts or interacts with others. The ways are the patterns of behavior that are consistent and enduring. So class, your personality is your consistent image sa ibang tao. So if you can remember your brand name, it's actually your personality, right? Brand personality yun. Okay. How do we determine personality? Narinig niyo ba yung ulan? Anyway, nakakaantok yung ulan, pero hopefully, ma-push natin at hindi magka-brown out. So, meron tayong pwedeng determinants ng personality. Actually, itong hereditary is one, pero environmental factors ay medyo marami siya. So, pag sinabi kong determinants of personality class, hindi lang siya dalawa. Pwedeng ilagay yung hereditary, tapos yung components ng environmental factors. So, tingnan natin yun later on. So, ang hereditary is genetics. So, ito yung mga namamana. Kaya heredity, ganyan. So, pwede ito yung mga hereditary, physical stature, facial attractiveness, gender, temperament, muscle composition and reflexes, energy level, and biological rhythms. Okay. But, syempre, meron din tayo ditong environmental factors. Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, when I ask for determinants of personality, pwede nyo i-answer pag dalawa lang, hereditary and environmental factors. Pero this one, you can answer hereditary, cultural, social, and situational. Okay, so the first one is cultural. This is established norms, values, and attitudes that are inherited from one generation to the next. So alam na natin kung ano ang culture. Second is social factor. Your personality is determined by your friends. So, na-adapt nyo minsan kung ano yung, ano nila. For example, your quiet classmate, kapag nakasama siya sa section nyo na maingay, okay, ganun na rin siya, ganyan. Birds with the same feather flock together. Banana. Okay. Situational factors naman, it depends on the situation. So, dahil nga, for example, you have undergone a life change, ganyan. Ano ba? For example, namatayan ka, nagpakasal ka, nagkaroon ka ng anak, your personality may change because of a certain situation. Okay? So, we have different kinds of personality factors and traits. So, ito yung mga yon. I-mention lang natin isa-isa. Number 1 is emotional stability. This factor considers an individual as calm, self-confident, and secure. If one has high degree of this factor, it can be expected that that person can withstand stress. Gusto ko talaga ito, guys. Sana kayo rin, magkaroon tayo ng emotional stability with all the factors or with all the changes happening in the world. We need this one. We should be able to handle our stress. Yon. So, I hope I can have this too. Yan. Second is extroversion. A person having this personality is sociable, gregarious, and assertive. Extroversion, I think, ang kabaliktaran niya yung introversion. Extroversion, para siyang extrovert. Okay, ito yung mga maingay. Hindi maingay in a bad way, pero maingay na very sociable, very, kumbaga, palakaibigan, ganyan. Third is openness to experience. This involves persons who are imaginative, curious, broad-minded, and artistically sensitive. Yun yung openness to experience. Fourth is agreeableness. There's personality factor refers to the person's interpersonal orientation. A person who is agreeable is warm, cooperative, and trusting. Itong agreeable, kaya ang agree yung term, no? For example, uy, ganito tayo, sige, go lang, ganyan. Or, for example, meron kayong pinag-decidean, siya yung lagi nag-agree or nag-yes. Affirmative lagi. Okay. 5 is conscientiousness. So, this refers to individual's reliability. So, a person with high conscientiousness is responsible. Okay. So, next is self-monitoring behavior. Having this personality trait is flexible. He has the ability to adjust to different situations. Itong self-monitoring behavior, para rin siyang risk-taking eh. Yung parang, he or she is not afraid of changes. He can be able to adapt. Okay. And I think very important to lalo na ngayon. Kasi if you're stuck with what you have in your comfort zone, you will not grow. Okay. Next is risk-taking. in thrill seeking, ito yung gusto nila mahihirawan, gusto nila mag-thrill, ganyan. So, this has something to do with eagerness of an individual to take risks and thrill needed in workplace, most especially in the field of business. So, if you want to be an entrepreneur, this is very important for you to have. So, the last one is optimism. This personality is very important for the individual in achieving positive result. This involves confidence in reaching a successful outcome. Okay?
But for today, we're focusing a lot on personality and values. Your personality will determine how much you're able to work within a company, will determine how much you're able to give within an organization. And when we think about personality, we're saying it's a relatively stable set of characteristics that influences an individual's behavior. So I am naturally extroverted. That means when I get into a situation, I get into a space, I probably am going to behave a little bit louder than others. I would want to engage. I would want to be a part of conversations because my personality is one that comes with some level of assertiveness and being out there in the public. So think about it as a pattern of thoughts, emotions, and behavior that characterize a person. Now, in terms of personality, we always would ask this question, is it nature or nurture? So what we're saying is your personality something that you're born with, or is it something that, you just grew up and learned as you kept moving on? These are conversations that we're going to have, but the key thing I want us to think about is a lot of times it's a mixture of nature and nurture, in the sense that some of us are born with certain personalities. It comes in our genes. It's hereditary. However, a level of our personality is also because of our social learning. So the environments that we are in, the people we relate with, our experiences in life, they will determine the kind of personality that we have. But it's not one size fits all. At the end of the day, it's usually a combination of both of them, your nature and your nurture. So let's look at certain personality traits. We're going to look at a few of them. The first set of personality traits we're going to look at are what we call the Big Five personality traits. So what the Big Five personality trait says is every human personality traits that we have can be summed up into 5 different characteristics. And all of these characteristics are on a spectrum. So for example, the first one is extraversion. So extraversion is on a spectrum of introversion all the way to extraversion. So extraversion is saying how much assertive, how sociable a person is. Now, it's on a scale that comes from how reserved, timid, and quiet a person is. So sometimes you're not fully extroverted, neither are you fully introverted. You might be somewhere on the spectrum in the sense that you're somewhere in the middle. Depends on the situation you're extroverted. Depends on the situation you're a little bit more introverted. So that is one angle of personality that people would have. The other set of personality traits that we have is on a spectrum of agreeableness and disagreeableness. So with agreeableness, we're saying this person is cooperative, they are warm, they are agreeable. In arguments, they tend to be the one that says, oh, that's fine, that's okay, I understand. They are always willing and ready to look at it from the other person's perspective rather than from their own perspective. Now, on the other end of that scale, you have people that are more cold, that are more disagreeable, that are more antagonistic. So those people tend to want to have the conflict. Those people tend to want to disagree on a lot of things, and they want to see things more from their own perspective rather than from an agreeable or cooperative perspective. Now, another set of personality traits we have is conscientiousness. So conscientiousness looks at how hardworking, organized, dependable a person is. So think about your teams. That person that would always meet the deadline. That person that is always ready to get the work done. That person that always has everything organized. They know what we're supposed to do, when we're supposed to do it, how we're supposed to do it. That person is said to be high on conscientiousness. On the other end of the spectrum, you're saying you're low on conscientiousness, which is when a person is more lazy, more disorganized, and usually unreliable. And think about the people you know. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people, it could be you, it could be me, that actually will fall into the lower end of conscientiousness. Now we have emotional stability. Emotional stability on the highest spectrum of it is saying how calm, how self-confident, how cool a person is. In face of adversity, are you the one to shout back? Or do you take a breath and say, Oh, okay, let's see. What is the best thing to do? How can I solve this? What is the best way to go around this? So if you are a person that you don't react immediately, but you're more proactive and you take a deep breath whenever you're in situations, you're mostly high on the scale of emotional stability. So on the other far end, you have people that are insecure, people that are anxious, people that are depressed, usually because they don't have any form of control on their emotions. Then finally, in the big 5 personality traits, we have openness to experience. So on the spectrum of openness to experience, the highest is the person that is more creative, that is curious, that is cultured, that wants to experience life, wants to see things, that doesn't want to be in a box. Those people are high on openness to experience. On the other end, we have those that are not so open to experience. So that's the lower version of that spectrum. And these are people that are more practical. They are more traditional in the way things are done. They want to do things based on, oh, this is how it's been done in the past. This is the standard that we have. And not necessarily because they're trying to be creative or trying to understand things from other perspective. Okay, so I want us to think about this. What combination of big 5 personalities do you think a customer service job would require? So a person that is going to be relating with customers, a person that is going to have to, learn the job, have conversations, handle conflicts, etc. What angle or what spectrum or combination of the big 5 personalities will this person require? So this is something for you to think about. Now, beyond the big 5 personality, there are other ways that we have defined personalities. And then one of them is the MBTI test, which pretty much says that we are not just classified by certain characteristics or certain traits. What really happens is where we find our personality is based on different things, and so we are all components of several things combined together that will determine what our personality is. So the first one is on the scale of extroversion to introversion, which is similar to the big 5 personality. What we're saying is, where do you get your energy from as an individual? That will determine your personality type. So extroversion, you are more outspoken, you're more talkative, you're more assertive, you're externally focused. So when you go out, that is when you actually get energy. That's when you're energized. You're the best, your best version when you're outside. On the other end, we have introversion. So introversion is more quiet. You're more internally focused. You're more abstract. So you get the best version of yourself when you're within, when you are alone. So that's where you get most of your energy from. Now, on the other side, we also have your sensing and intuition, which is looking at how you perceive information. So a person that is sensing is more concrete when it comes to information. When you want to gather data, you're doing it from a realistic perspective. You're more practical. So you pretty much are using your senses, your 5 senses, to determine and get information from your external environment. But a person on the other end of the spectrum is more intuitive. So your intuitive means you're more imaginative, you're more future focused, you're more abstract. So when trying to get information, you're not trying to get all the concrete details or all the realistic information and practical details. You're more of idealizing everything. Ooh, what is the abstract? What is the big picture? How does it show? What is the future in this? So you're more imaginative in the way you perceive information. Then on the other, the third angle is how you make decisions. So this sometimes is very closely knit to how you take in information. So you have the thinkers and you have the feelers. The thinkers are more logical, they're more objective, they're more impersonal. So they think through everything, every decision that is made. It is, what is the logical thing to do? Okay, let's put everything into context. How does this fit within the big picture? However, on the other hand, you have the feelers. The feelers are more empathetic. They are more caring. They are more emotion focused. So what you're saying is, when I need to make decisions, I'm not thinking about the logic. I'm thinking about people's feelings. I'm thinking about how it affects the other person. I'm going to act based on emotions because I naturally want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to feel good. Then finally, in terms of the MBTI, we have how you see the world, how you orientate the world. And so there are two perspectives, like every other way to it: the judgers and the perceivers. So judging is not in the concept of, judging people. It's just how you see the world itself. So some people see the world in a more organized way. They want to be schedule oriented. This is what needs to be done. This is when it needs to be done. They are flow closure focused. So I want to see the end of every single thing that I'm doing. I want to see the end of everything that's happening in the world. However, the perceivers are very similar with the intuitive and the feeling groups of people, in the sense that they are more spontaneous. They are more adaptable, so they don't expect everything to have a clean line in the world. When situations change, it's easier for them to change as well. They are more focused on opportunity. Okay, so what is next? What else do we need to do? Okay, what's the next action? Let's be creative. And these are the ways that they perceive the world, and you would see it in the career that they would have. They wouldn't want a career that is very fixed, that is very standard, that is very stagnant. They most likely want a career that is a little bit more exposing, a career that you don't even know what's happening the next day, and it's more of go on the ride as you move kind of career. So now a key thing that I want us to know is, while these things are aligned into two different columns, it doesn't necessarily mean that you as a person, your personality has to be ESTJ. We have a lot of mix and matches that people have. I know a lot of introverts that it's I, and then they are sensing, and they are thinking, and they are judging. Or introversion, sensing, feeling, and perceiving. So what I want you to do in this situation, and another thing we should know, is your personality sometimes changes over time. So my personality has changed over time. I've moved from I to even E. I've moved around in terms of how I perceive information, how I make decisions, and how I see the world. So the next task is for